I came back from the war with 2 shiny medals on my chest and a bank account that looked like it had taken more bullets than I ever did. On paper, I was a hero. In real life, I was 3 months late on rent, patchworking odd jobs, and watching my mother split her pills in half because the full dose had suddenly become luxury pricing. Everyone kept saying the same thing. Start over, Davi. New life. New chapter. But when I stepped back into civilian life, it felt like the whole world had quietly changed its price tag. Groceries, transport, medicine, everything had gone up. My salary hadn't. And somehow, I was always the last one to find out. Then I landed a temporary job at a steel factory. In a city living on ration cards and shortages, that place never slept. The furnaces burned day and night. Trucks rolled in and out. Orders kept coming. There was always coal, always buyers, always rush deadlines for the good of the country. Until one night, a contract landed on my table by mistake. Stamped, confidential. I shouldn't have opened it. But I did. And there it was, the truth in black ink and small print. Steel that was supposed to rebuild bridges, hospitals, roads, quietly diverted to private buyers who paid more. Official shipments arrived light. Missing weight here, adjusted delivery there. On paper, all patriotic. In reality, a silent river of profit flowing into a handful of pockets. Soldiers at the front without the parts they needed. Families waiting for repairs that never came. And the factory owner smiling on the front page of the newspaper, praised as a pillar of reconstruction, while signing secret addendums in the back office. That night, as I stared at those numbers, something clicked. War has its leaks, and so does your wallet. Invisible. Constant. Always just a little. Until you wonder why you're working so hard and still feel broke. Have you ever felt that? That sense that your money is disappearing somewhere you can't quite see? If this hits close to home, stay with me. In this video, I'll show you how that wartime scheme mirrors your everyday finances, and how to spot, stop, and renegotiate the leaks that are quietly bleeding you dry. And if you want more stories that turn hard lessons into practical moves for your money, consider subscribing. I still remember my first day walking into that steel factory. The war was officially over, but for most of us, it didn't feel like victory. It felt like a pause, a breath that never quite filled the lungs. I had 2 medals in a drawer and 3 overdue bills on the table. The city smelled like coal and boiled coffee. Ration cards in every pocket, lines at every corner, people counting coins under their breath as if the numbers might magically change. Yet that factory gate, always open. Trucks in, trucks out. Smoke never stopped. They gave me a temporary badge, a pair of worn gloves, and a simple order. Keep the line moving, Davi. So I did. Hour after hour, I watched glowing steel come out of the furnace like rivers of light. We were told it was for rebuilding. Bridges bombed into dust, hospital wings collapsing, railroads twisted like wire. You're part of the reconstruction, they said, as if that sentence alone could pay my rent. But something didn't add up. If the city was so broke, why was our factory running full nights, lights blazing like a festival? Why were there new trucks with no markings, arriving after most workers went home? Why did certain offices stay lit long after the last whistle? One night, overtime blurred into exhaustion. I was carrying a stack of blue folders from one room to another when one slipped and burst open on the floor. Papers everywhere. I knelt to gather them, apologizing to the empty hallway when I saw the stamp, confidential, addendum. I shouldn't have read it, but I did. Private buyers. Higher prices. Deliveries redirected from public infrastructure to strategic partners. Steel originally paid for with public money, quietly walking out the back door for extra profit. And there it was, the feeling I know you've had looking at your bank statement. That sinking sense that something is draining your resources, and you have no idea where it's going. Have you ever looked at your own finances and thought, I worked this hard for this? If this is hitting close to home, stay with me. In the next part, I'll show you how I trace those leaks, and how you can start finding the invisible leaks in your own budget. And if stories like this resonate with you, consider subscribing so you don't miss the rest of this journey. I still remember my first week at the steel factory. The war was over, at least on paper. People talked about rebuilding, new opportunities, fresh starts. But every morning, I walked past the same lines of people at the pharmacy, counting bills. The same neighbors arguing over rent. My own pockets? Almost empty. 2 medals, no money. Inside the factory, it was a different world. Noise, heat, movement. You could feel the steel vibrating through the floor, like the whole building had a heartbeat. Orders never stopped coming. Government contracts, emergency materials, rush deliveries for the front and for reconstruction. And I remember thinking, if this place is this busy, why is everybody out there still broke? One night, after a double shift, the foreman tossed a pile of folders on my station. "Sort these by date," he said. "Don't peek too much. It's above your pay grade." I laughed it off. But of course I peeked. That's when I saw it. 2 columns. One with official government orders, bridge reinforcements, hospital equipment, replacement parts for military vehicles. And another column, private priority clients, paying almost double and getting served first. The same steel that was supposed to hold up bridges and repair hospital beds was being quietly diverted into private warehouses. Construction for luxury projects, private estates, companies that had nothing to do with the war or rebuilding. The factory made justifications on paper, logistics issues, supply delays. But in reality, the choice was simple. Who paid more, got more. Who needed more, waited. I felt this cold mix of anger and recognition. Because I realized the factory wasn't doing anything magical. It was just obeying one rule: follow the highest bidder, and hoping nobody connected the dots. And that's not very different from what happens with your money today. The highest bidder in your life, the loudest bill, the urgent offer, the shiny thing that promises comfort, quietly jumps to the front of the line. Your priorities, your safety net, your future, your peace of mind, keep getting delayed like those government orders. Have you ever looked at your bank statement and thought, how is there so much movement and so little progress? If this resonates, stay with me. In the next part, I'll show you how I turned that discovery into a method to stop these priority leaks in my own finances, and how you can start reclaiming control, one decision at a time. If this story is hitting close to home, you might want to subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter. I still remember the first week inside that factory. The heat from the furnaces hit me like the desert wind from the front. But this time there were no bullets, just sparks and metal screaming as it was cut and shaped. Men moved like clockwork. One turned the valves, another checked the gauges, another loaded the trucks. No one asked questions. Not about where the steel came from. Not about where it was going. I didn't either. At least not at first. I was just grateful to have a paycheck that might cover the rent and my mother's medicine. When you're behind on bills, why becomes a luxury. All that matters is how much and how soon. One night, the foreman tossed a stack of folders onto my station. "Davi, they need these signed off before midnight. Numbers only, don't worry about the rest." He said it like it was nothing, like I was a cog, not a mind. But as I flipped through the documents, one detail caught my eye. The same shipment of steel listed twice, with 2 different destinations and 2 very different prices. The cheaper one was for the government. Bridge restoration, Northern Line, priority, high. The other was for a private contractor I'd never heard of, paying almost double. Same tonnage, same quality. Only the destination and the profit changed. I wish I could say I slammed the folder shut in righteous anger. The truth is, I hesitated. I thought about my debts, about my mother wheezing at night, about the landlord's final warning on my door. And then something uncomfortable hit me. I had been doing the exact same thing with my own money. Not with steel, but with my paycheck. Letting urgent expenses jump the line. Paying more on things that soothed my anxiety in the moment, while the truly important stuff, my future, my safety net, got the leftovers. Tell me, have you ever looked at your bank statement and felt that same confusion? Like your money is being diverted somewhere, but you can't quite see how? If this resonates with you so far, stick with me. In the next part, I'll show you exactly how I uncovered those hidden leaks, both in the factory and in my own finances, and how you can start plugging yours today. I didn't sleep that night. I lay on the thin mattress in my rented room, the factory dust still in my hair, that confidential contract open in front of me. Numbers, dates, signatures. The owner's ink fresh enough to shine when it caught the light. And a thought hit me like a punch. This is exactly what happens in my bank account, just with less fancy paper. During the war, I thought leaks were obvious: a burst pipe, a broken bridge, an explosion. After the war, I learned the worst leaks are silent. One small clause in a contract, one temporary fee on a bill, One, just this once loan that becomes a monthly ghost in your statement. I started listing my own leaks on the back of that contract, using the empty margin like a battlefield map. Late fees, interest on the credit card, the overdraft protection, that was actually a trap. The subscription I'd forgotten to cancel. The favor the bank manager did for me that came with a hidden cost. Line by line, I realized I didn't need to work harder first. I needed to stop bleeding. In the factory, the owner made extra money by secretly diverting steel. In my life, I was diverting my own future every time I paid more than I had to. Every time I accepted a condition without questioning it. So I tried something I hadn't done since I came back from the front. I confronted. Not with a rifle, with a phone. I called the bank and questioned a fee. I called a creditor and asked for a renegotiation. I looked at each expense and asked, are you rebuilding my life or just lining someone else's pockets? And here's the part that still surprises me. When you say no to invisible leaks, the world doesn't explode. It adjusts. Have you ever looked at your statement and felt that same quiet theft, like your money is disappearing to places you never agreed to? If this is resonating, stay with me. In the next part, I'll show you the exact steps I used to renegotiate, plug those leaks, and finally feel like my money was marching in my direction again. When I left that office, I walked home under a sky that looked like cold metal. Smoke from the factory floated above the city like a permanent bruise. Every window I passed had some version of the same story. A single light on, someone counting something. Bills, pills, coins, time. I kept thinking about those diverted steel shipments. On paper, they were just numbers and codes. In real life, they were bridges that wouldn't be rebuilt, hospital beds that would stay empty, soldiers waiting for parts that never came. All because someone had found a way to earn more by sending that steel somewhere else. And then it hit me. I was doing the same with my own life. Not with steel, but with attention, with money, with energy. I kept saying, I don't have enough. Not enough money, not enough time, not enough chance to start over. But when I finally sat down with my notebook and wrote everything out, I realized I wasn't just broke. I was leaking. Late fees here. Impulse buys there. A subscription I didn't even remember signing up for. A just this once delivery 4 times a week. Tiny diversions, always justified, never questioned. The financial equivalent of those quiet addendums I'd seen in the factory files. Nobody had stolen my money. I had just never learned to guard it. And that was the most painful realization. I'd faced enemy fire with a plan, a mission, a strategy. But in front of a bank statement, I just reacted. I waited for the damage, then tried to survive it. So I made myself a promise. If I could navigate a war zone, I could learn to navigate my own numbers. I started by asking myself a simple question. Where is my steel going? Where is the money that should be rebuilding my life being diverted? And for whose benefit? Let me ask you the same. If you had to circle, in your last bank statement, the invisible leaks, how many circles would you draw? If this is resonating with you so far, stay with me. In the next part, I'll show you exactly how I started plugging those leaks, step by step, without needing to earn a single extra dollar at first. For a long time, I thought the victory was getting out of the factory alive and with a signed paycheck, paying rent on time, keeping the lights on, making sure my mother had her medicine. But I realized that's the bare minimum of survival, not the same thing as peace. In the factory, those confidential contracts didn't stop after I reported what I saw. The faces changed, the signatures changed, sometimes the company names changed, but the logic stayed the same. As long as nobody looked too closely, someone could keep siphoning value in the dark. Our personal finances work the same way. It's not always a villain in a suit. Sometimes it's the subscription you forgot to cancel. The card you just tapped all month. The bank fee you accepted as just how it is. The small leaks. The quiet addendums. The costs we stopped questioning. One night, looking at my own account, I realized I was running my life like that factory. Money in, money out, no clarity in between. I was working hard for a system I didn't understand. So I did something simple, but uncomfortable. I pulled every contract of my life into the light. I listed every fixed expense, every debt, every subscription, every fee, and I asked one brutal question of each. If this were a secret wartime addendum, would I sign it again today? Some stayed. Many didn't. I called creditors and negotiated rates. Yes, even the untouchable ones. I canceled services that didn't serve me. I moved my account to a bank that charged less. I created automatic transfers to a small emergency fund, no matter how ridiculous it felt at first. And slowly, the background noise in my head got quieter. Not because I started making millions, but because, for the first time, my money was marching where I told it to go, not where hidden contracts pushed it. If you're still watching, this probably resonates with you on some level. What's one contract in your life, a payment, a habit, a fee, that you know, deep down, you need to question? Tell me in the comments. Your answer might help someone else see their own leak. And if you want more stories that turn invisible financial chaos into clear, practical steps, subscribe and stay close. The war might be over, but your reconstruction is just beginning. When I walked out of that factory for the last time, the city was the same. Same gray buildings, same buses packed with tired faces, same air thick with smoke and promises. But something in me wasn't the same anymore. I had seen, with my own eyes, how the war kept going long after the last shot. Only now, the battlefield wasn't a trench. It was a spreadsheet. It was a contract clause. It was a small fee here, a temporary interest rate there. Invisible to most people, until it bled them dry. The owner of that steel plant taught me a lesson he never intended to teach. Nobody precisa rubar você abertamente, quando podem criar vazamentos silenciosos que você nem percebe. Back then, it was steel disappearing line by line. Today, for you and me, it's the subscription we forgot to cancel, the bank fee that everyone pays, the renegotiation we accepted sem ler direito, the interest that grows quietly while we tell ourselves, depois eu vejo isso. In the war, soldiers paid the price of those schemes with their lives. In peacetime, we pay with our years. Years working only to topper buraco, to pay for mistakes that weren't even all ours. But here's what I realized. Once you see the leaks, you can close them. You can call and renegotiate that debt instead of just surviving it. You can move your account, cut that card, cancelar aquila assinatura inútil. You can build a small emergency fund, even if it starts with the price of just one coffee you didn't buy this week. It's not about being perfect with money. It's about not being blind. If this story made you remember at least one steel leak in your own life, a charge, a habit, a decision you've been avoiding, which one is it? Write it down. Name it. That's your first battlefield. Tell me in the comments. What's the first leak you're going to close after this video? If this helped you see your finances from a different angle, save this video, hit that like so the platform knows it's worth showing to more people, and subscribe. In the next stories, I'll walk with you step by step. So the only medals you carry are the ones you chose, not the ones debt pinned to your chest.